Hello and welcome to the channel. This is Meredith. I'm going to share with you the second full day of my cruise to Alaska. On this day we are heading into Juneau in the afternoon. If you want to see what I got up to on the rest of my cruise, consider subscribing and putting the bell icon on because I will be sharing the rest of my cruise with you soon. So this particular day we did book an excursion through the ship for Juneau, so I'm going to take you along with us on that. So I actually started my day very early because the time change was not my friend. As a result, I wandered around deck 3 to take in some of the views of the inside passage and also got my steps in while most of the other folks on the ship were still sleeping. I just wanted to give you a look at the daily program. So they have it as a paper option, but you can also look at it on the phone app. If you do want to have a paper version, which I totally understand, bringing a highlighter is very useful. They do a really good job here at highlighting specific programs that are available each day. So I really like some of the educational talks and things like that. And then they also have hours and things for the movies, presentations, the music shows, and everything like that. Some of the activities do have an extra fee. It is very easy to know what the fee will be, and you can use onboard credit for that, so just keep that in mind as well. They also put on the back here the dining hours and all of the information about drinks and where to find services, etc. If you use the mobile app and you start the particular activity you want to go to, it will send you a push notification when it's time to head towards that place.
Coffee time. Mocha chai latte with extra shot and soy milk. Caramel rolled fruit. Mushrooms. My mom and I decided to go to the MDR for breakfast just because we had been up for so many hours at this point. I got the Pan Asian breakfast and this was really good, highly recommend it. And my mom got an omelet with a side of hash browns.
We're scheduled to arrive in Juneau around 1 p.m. and I'll be back at that time for the gateway announcements to prepare you for your first Alaskan adventure. Meanwhile, here's a look at some of the morning events and activities. At 9 o'clock, join me for another coffee chat where I'll sit down with our executive chef, Thomas Schumann, for a casual interview and Q&A. Join me for that in the EXC Encounters room that's up on deck 10 forward. At 10 a.m.,
I think that is a mouse and an elephant.
Since we were slated to arrive in Juneau at about 1, we decided to go to the Dive In, which is the burgers, hot dogs, and fries place that's right by the pool. They are made to order, and they do have plant-based options for you if you are a vegetarian. But we decided to do this because it was going to be a quick lunch, and we wanted to make sure we were on time for our excursion. There is also room service available if you're interested. It is complimentary. Just make sure you tip the delivery person. On top of that, there are some upcharge items in the room service, but it's very obvious which items are going to be upcharged. And then also as another quick sort of option, the Lido Market is also available.
Yes. 10,000 people, and they're the ones that we're going to focus on today. Our society.
The tram's going up.
So we're coming into port at Juneau, and they opened up the bow. We're the only ones out here, but it's on the 4th deck, at the front of the ship, obviously. But the views are really good. The queue at Tracy's Crab Shack is so long. We're so far away, but that's crazy. We're like backing into the dock. It's a panda. This is not the exact excursion we booked. I couldn't find it on the public website for this season, but ours was about $110, and it included a 3rd stop at the hatchery for the Salmon Hatchery. So with the Have It All package, you do get one time a $100 off an excursion per person. So keep that in mind as you're kind of thinking through budgets.
That's going to go for the chum salmon. Now your pinky, that of course will go with the pink salmon. And then your ring finger usually has something shiny on it, so let's use that for the silver salmon. Now if you were going to poke someone in the eye or sock them in the eye, that's for the sockeye salmon. And then your middle finger, being your biggest finger of all, we use that for our biggest fish of all, the king salmon. The world record king salmon was 98 pounds, and it was caught out of the Kenai River. And the world record silver salmon, 27 pounds, 8 ounces, and it was caught right here in southeast Alaska.
Super rainy. First destination is the hatchery.
Started. Welcome to Macaulay's, Divepack's Macaulay Salmon Hatchery. Hold your questions until the end of the presentation. As juveniles, they can be released out into the ocean to live on their own. In contrast, salmon raised on farms remain on those farms for the entirety of their lives, and they are raised only for commercial purposes. This here was once an egg right at our hatchery, and they have gone out to the ocean and made their way back in full journey. So biologists have actually discovered that each river, creek, and stream has its own unique chemical makeup or smell. And so the salmon, the baby salmon, when they're out here, are going through a process called imprinting, where they memorize the scent of their home stream. Then they'll head out to the ocean for between 1 and 5 years, depending on the species. And then at the end of their life, when they're ready to spawn, they'll make their way back using ocean.
There were quite a few harbor seals, so this was definitely work smarter, not harder, because look at these guys. They knew exactly where to find their next meal. So this one here was going through the hatchery ladder, and then there were other ones that were just kind of hanging out, kind of waiting for the salmon to emerge.
There's 3 of them. 1, 2, 3.
I saw 4 in that one, so there were 3 out here and 1 jumping. There it is.
There he is.
It is a Puget Sound king crab. It's one of the more bizarre and one of our personal favorites. He actually just molted, so he's got his colors are really bright right now. He's got fresh shell.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. I just was checking in to learn how to swim.
Ah, yeah.
We live in Swim, which is just off.
years, all that muck and debris just built up. Now that's where the Sucker Steep Valley comes into the picture. He bought this lovely 6.5 acres. He came back the following day, realizing what he had done, and he saw those roots dangling down, and it was a spark of inspiration. Here in Juneau, he's known for his baskets overflowing, so he saw those roots. It reminded him of his petunias, and then the creeping Charlie.
So when we get our wind, it's nice and warm. The rain.
Here on the right is Steve's Rock. The rock we mentioned on your tour through the gardens there. Inspired all our upside down flowers now this year. All of these ponds are designed to settle out the sediment as it goes down the hill. Not doing real well with all this rain right now. They're actually lined with a geotech fabric that keeps them from eroding away and ended up in really hard yesterday. All that sediment in that pond actually came from last night. That used to be about 4 foot deep. The whole thing used to be about 4 foot deep until last night with the rain that we had coming down through here. On the left side is also a lily. It's called skunk cabbage. We got the cabbage, not the skunks. It gets its name from the pungent odor the flower produces. You notice on these towers here, these white knobs that are growing all over them, those actually grow on dead trees. It's called bear's bread. It's actually a fungus. An elevation marker. We're 200 feet above sea level now. This rock wall on the right-hand side with the concave side on that rock wall actually got eroded away by ocean waves hitting against that and eroding that away. We don't have forest fires. We don't have the spruce beetles or anything killing these trees. They actually die of old age or the wind blows them down. This rock wall on the right hand side used to be ocean floor at one time. It's called shale. It used to be sand and gravel and stuff at the bottom of the ocean floor.
I know this is something I researched a lot as I was preparing, but I wanted to know what people typically wore to Alaska, so I had just a rain jacket. I didn't have rain pants, but I was wearing my rain boots.
Those logs were all repurposed from the mudslide that Steve reclaimed down at the bottom of the hill here. This canyon going up and down the mountain here in golf carts. And they actually used to pass this road coming up. It's hard to believe about 4 days ago it was quite a sunny day. This is the Tongass National Rainforest we just entered. Steve got a permit to go through here. When he bought these bigger vehicles, he knew he wouldn't be able to pass on that hill coming up. The hill coming up took him 4 years. This road going down took 3 to build. Rainforest starts up at Haines Skagway and goes all the way down to the Canadian border in the Panhandle here. The second largest rainforest in the world. See how thick this bark is, how it goes up and down the tree in strips like that. Kind of like thick cut bacon. That's the western hemlock. This is the Sitka spruce here. See how much thinner the bark is, and it's all flaky. Kind of like potato chips. So we got bacon and potatoes. I can see why they disappear so easily in the foliage here. Dig the roots up and then put them in a big pack. pot of water and boil that down. Then they'll make a salve out of it. Real good for cuts, scrapes, and burns.
Not bad. $5.95.
We are on the Nugget Trail, Nugget Falls Trail at Mendenhall Glacier. It's about 1 mile. I think we're about halfway through at this point, but the views are very, very nice.
I do want to mention there was somebody in a wheelchair in that last clip. The pavement is actually not super paved, but it doesn't have a lot of potholes or anything, but there are definitely puddles if you are there during rainy season.
We're getting closer, but it's getting rainier. To get over there where everybody else is, there's a little path before you get to this photo point, so we're gonna go there next. But this is Nugget Falls, and then if you can see right there, that is the glacier. Okay, so it's down this little path. This is Mendenhall Lake out here, the body of water. Have to go through these rock paths. I made it across. It's kind of slippery, not too bad.
On the way back to the visitor center, my mom and I split up because she wanted to go back to the visitor center to meet up with my dad, and I wanted to go to this other viewing point. It's on the way back and it wasn't too far off of the path.
It should be about 15 minutes round trip, 0.3 miles. Okay, this was like a super easy walk, totally recommend. So this is from the staircase by the visitor center. So they have these here. You collect the stamps in national parks, but it's not technically a national park. The air got so clear. Trying to make it to Steep Creek, we'll see. It's supposed to be like a pretty easy walk. It's supposed to be about a 10-minute walk, so I'm gonna go real quick. It's paved the entire way. So apparently there should be some salmon in here spawning. I did not see any salmon or bears. Apparently sometimes bears come up here because the salmon are spawning, but I did not see any. They have the weekly fish count here. And then here is a little bit of a placard. Another placard about bears. Walking back to the bus stop now, but look at these views.
Their life expectancy drops considerably. It goes from about 9 years all the way down to about 2 years as a lone wolf. Well, Romeo, he was a very large black wolf. He was very happy. He got a mate, and they were about to have their first litter of pups. Well, they used to live back here on Back Loop Road, and sadly, his mate, she got run over by a car, and it took her and the pups. So now this wolf, he becomes very sad. He leaves his pack. He becomes a lone wolf, and he wanders around. Well, he made his way out here to the glacier, and he made his home back there pretty close to where you saw his memorial.
Had a bit of a rain jacket emergency, so maybe need to find something in here. This is the t-shirt company. Dead Eyes. They have so many souvenirs, pretty low prices. No rain jackets if you're in need of one. A lot of t-shirts, a lot of like hoodies and sweatshirts, pullovers, that sort of thing. So ugly. Going to just look at the prices, but we're going to eat back on the ship. But the line is quite long still. It's about $6.45. Heading back to the ship, it's like about 6:45 or so. I'm advocating for the salmon bake at the Lido Market, but we'll see what we end up doing. But that is the Ovation of the Seas. So definitely the Holland America Westerdam is definitely the smallest one in port today. There were 4 or 5 ships total, so 4 maybe extra ones. I think one was a tender port. I don't know what I'm talking about. So a quick review of the excursion that we were on. It was really good. I think it was about $110 per person for adults, and it was definitely worth it. I was a little bit iffy after the Salmon Hatchery, but the other 2 locations were really good, and the tour guides were really good, so I would recommend checking it out, especially if you want to hit both the glacier and the gardens. I was a little bit worried about the glacier because we only had about 2.5 hours there, and it was kind of like, they said that it was an hour back and forth from the parking lot to the Nugget Falls, and it didn't take that long at all. And then similarly for the photo point, it only took like maybe 10 minutes back and forth total to get back to the visitor center. So everything was doable for me at least, and it was very, very walkable, and they had paved trails the whole way. So that's the review quickly for you before we get back on the ship. So I always thought it was cheesy when people said you don't realize how big it is until you're standing next to it, but I think it's true. The animal for tonight, my mom says, is an otter. Not sure. I guess maybe, but I kind of think it's like a weird swan. Or a sloth? I don't know. Chicken Caesar salad and a bunch of melon. Okay, salmon bake, and then also the maple glazed soy something salmon, broccoli rice, and salmon chowder. Four cheese pizza, we'll see how that is. It looks a little bit light. It looks like barred pizza. And then I was saying how there's no potato chips, but there was a bowl of potato chips on the buffet, so I grabbed some potato chips. Looks like Lay's. My mom and I decided to go back to the room, have a cocktail on the balcony as we float away, whatever it is. And then my dad is actually like at the music walk because he's a party animal. But yeah, gonna also do some face masks and things like that. So relaxation time, definitely. Walked 20,000 steps today. Not super a lot for me, but like it was kind of like uneven terrain in the rain too. So relaxation is it. So we didn't make it in time to see if there were any port runners, sadly. But I do have my Midori sour and we're going to watch. We've already kind of started moving away from the dock, as you can see. But this is one last look at Juneau. So my parents are more of a party animal than me. No surprise there. My mom is still out on the balcony. I got too cold. And then my dad is down in the music walk listening to BB Kings. So it does have a little bit of everything for everyone. So I'll do a little bit longer of a review, kind of talking about it from a 30-something perspective, and then also like giving some like overall sort of observations. Today was super eventful. So last minute we added that excursion. So again, it was like $110 per person about, and it included the Glacier Gardens, the Glacier, the Mendenhall Glacier, and then also the Salmon Hatchery. And it was like honestly quite good. I really think it was worth the $110-ish, especially because we got transportation everywhere, a little bit of a guided tour, that sort of thing. And it was very painless in terms of being able to do things on our own time. It was still a little bit fast for some of the stops, but a lot of the other ones not so much. By some of the stops, I mean the Mendenhall Glacier. Definitely could have spent a little bit more time there, because if you really want to do the hiking and kind of the sightseeing part, you're not really able to do much of the visitor center area. So I'm not super upset about that, because honestly taxidermied animals kind of freak me out. So that was like most of what I saw when I went in there trying to find my parents. But there are some other like educational things about like how far the glacier has moved, that sort of thing, which would have been nice to know. There was also an additional trail that I wasn't able to hit just because we only had like 2.5-ish hours there. So the final one that I wasn't able to go to was the time travel trail or something, the time trail. I don't remember what it was called, but that one took a little bit longer, and my parents probably wouldn't have been able to do that one. So maybe next time, if there is a next time, I will try to hit that one up. I was able to do all the other trails. So my mom and I were talking about it. So the tour guide had said it was about an hour for walking to Nugget Falls and back. It definitely took us like maybe 25-30 minutes, and we were kind of strolling for part of it, and we definitely took our time while we were there, but you could have probably spent more time taking photos, that sort of thing. And then we came back. My mom headed off to the visitor center, and then I went to do the photo point trail. That one, definitely the placard said it was 15 minutes there and back, and I definitely took my time, and I think it probably took me maybe 10 minutes ish from the visitor center to the point of whatever photo point, and then back to the visitor center. So it was pretty fast. I do walk kind of quickly. I would say that all of them were pretty paved. I think in my video you probably saw there was somebody in a wheelchair that was getting pushed around the trail, and it was doable. I would say that it was probably a little bit miserable for that person in the wheelchair. It was pretty rainy, so I'm assuming they weren't wearing a poncho, so I'm assuming that their lap was like super soaked. But yeah, so that was really good. The Glacier Gardens was super good. I don't know if they were telling us this because they were like, oh yeah, like yesterday it rained so much, and I was like, can't tell if you like saying that just because you know that a bunch of us have never been here, or like if it really truly was a lot for Juneau in terms of the weather. So we came back and went to the buffet, to the Lido Market for the salmon baked dinner. It was fine. I don't know. I looked at the menu for the dining room, and I think that it was like kind of not the best menu, but I think perhaps it would have been a little bit better for us. I don't know. My dad was able to get like everything he wanted, so he got some pizzas, got some ice cream, got salmon, you know, all of that. For me, I'm still a little bit hungry, but I'm not gonna eat because I feel a little bit bad about that. we didn't have any snacks today out in Juneau because we kind of spent the budget that we were going to spend in Juneau on that excursion. So we made the executive decision to come back to the ship rather than eating out. So I was going to go to Deckhand Dave's, which is fish tacos, just because I heard a lot of great things about it. I would say that the buffet is good for a family or a group of people. Personally, some of the food has been a little bit dry, but that's probably just because it's a buffet, and I haven't really been to a buffet in like a decade or so. Or actually no, Korea. I went to my favorite Korean buffet quite often. So anyway, buffets. I'm obviously going crazy now. So I will talk to you tomorrow morning, and tomorrow we will be cruising in Hubbard Glacier. So it's a whole day on ship, but we will be cruising around in the Hubbard Glacier, doing some scenic viewing, that sort of thing, and I'll show you all of that. So see you then. So even though I say no, my mom called me out here. That's the bridge. And she's been watching the captain and the technicians up there. But we're fully away from Juneau now.
So far as to say it's the bridge, it's just there's a crew man up there manning.
No, it is the bridge. It's a very bubble mask. Hopefully this takes care of that pimple.